Yes, class. Assalamu alaikum. Is this audible?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. All right. So in the last class, we had started with this lesson motion in a straight line where we had discussed distance and displacement. So discuss and displacement was the basic things that we discussed. And distance was what? Distance was basically the total path that is covered. So whatever is the total path covered, you call it as distance. And displacement is the shortest path covered. So you have to find the length of the initial and final position. Just join it with a straight line and you'll get an answer. So question we did it, but let's do one more question, so just to see whether we have understood distance or displacement or not. So just note down one question, and if there are any doubts, you can ask me in between as well. So one question, I think we did it for that circle. Simultaneously start noting down the question as well.
Ma'am, what does the small a represent?
Small a represents the length. So if you are this shows the radius for this semicircle. 2a is this length, 3a is this length, BC is equal to let's say this
So
is
a is the radius, small a.
small a. Yes, small a is the radius of the semicircle.
Okay.
From B to C, it's 3A. Radius of semicircle OA, this is small a. AB is given as 2A. BC is given as 3A. At least first part you people can solve. So Aisha and Ayaz have tried it. Aisha's answer is okay. Aisha, your answer is right. And Ayaz, it's a whole thing divided by 2 or just 10A divided by 2? Ayaz, just get clear by your answer. Okay. And the whole thing is divided by 2. Fine, now let's discuss it. See, this distance is what? This is a semicircle. So for a full circle, when we have a full circle, the circumference of a circle is what? 2 pi r. So if it's a semicircle, that means 2 pi r divided by 2. So 2 pi r divided by 2 means what? Pi r. And that's the circumference of a semicircle. So we are actually calculating the distance. For calculation of distance, we require this length. So this will obviously be equal to pi a. Yes, Hiram. Answer is right. So this will be equal to what? See, this equals to what? This equals to pi a. Then what do we have? We have 2a, then we have 3a. So total distance will be what? Pi a plus 2a plus 3a. That's the distance. So this becomes pi a plus 5a. You can take a common from here. Your answer will be pi plus 5 meters. This will be the distance. Fine. Now we have to calculate what? The displacement. Now displacement will be what? For calculation of displacement, you just have to, what did I tell you? Join the initial and final points for each segment. So for the first part, instead of calculating this curve, what we'll calculate? We'll calculate this length. So can anyone tell what should be this length?
2a.
2a. Exactly. It will be 2a because this will be a plus a. Similar to what we have done in the previous question in I think on Monday's class we did circles a to c when you were calculating. That was what directly from a to c when you were calculating that came out to be 2r. So here also it will be 2a simply. Now, just one thing, since they are given in different planes, unit vectors right now we have not discussed. So, but keep in mind, I'll tell you, for x-axis it is I cap. We'll do unit vectors, we'll do vectors, whole thing we'll do. Right now we cannot add displacements just like that. The reason is that for adding displacements or any quantities like that, these are vector quantities. And for vector quantities, whenever we have vector quantities, we'll be doing vectors, not after this lesson, we'll be doing vectors after this topic only. Once we'll reach velocity, before velocity, we'll do vectors, because vectors, without vectors, we won't be able to solve anything. Before moving on to relative velocity and all the concepts of velocity, we'll do vectors. So, but before that, I'll tell you, I cap is the vector that is used for x-axis and j cap is used for y-axis and k cap is used for z-axis. So right now I'm just telling you because I'll solve this question for you, but keep in mind that you cannot add it directly. So this will be equal to what? Displacement will be equal to 2a I cap. I am putting I cap for representation of xy plane, that it is representation in xy plane. Then we have what? Then we have again 2a, that length, plus 2a j cap. And then we have 3a k cap. But here the answer won't be 4 plus 3, 7a. We cannot add it because these are vector quantities. Vector quantities have vector laws for it. All right, so how to solve this, how to get the answer? We can get the proper magnitude. We have a method to solve all these. So that we'll do most probably in the next class or after the next class. We'll do it because without vectors, we won't be able to do it. It is included in your chapter 4 of NCERT, motion in a straight line, but we'll do it beforehand so that we are able to solve all this. But right now, understand this much. This much understanding is sufficient. Now, before moving on to speed, just note it down, those who haven't noted it. There's a method to solve this. All right, now speed and velocity. So before moving on to velocity, first let us discuss speed because speed is also a very vast topic. So in speed, just remember, speed is basically rate of flow of distance, not flow, rate of change in distance. Speed is always associated with distance because speed is a scalar quantity and distance is also a scalar quantity. Whenever you are calculating speed or whenever you are doing the calculations of speed, remember that it is a scalar quantity. So never ever use displacement for calculation of speed. For speed, remember, it is basically distance divided by time. This is the formula of it. Distance divided by time. This is the formula of it. And this is what? This is rate of change of distance. What is meant by rate? Any quantity that gets divided by time, we call it as rate. Rate of change of distance, rate of change of charge, rate of change of anything that gets divided by time, we call it as rate. Rate means anything that is changing with respect to time. So distance, speed is what? Speed is in 1 second, how much distance has been covered. In the span of 1 second, how much distance has been covered. We call that quantity as speed. But we never use displacement. Even if questions are given, you have the data for calculation of displacement. You just have to calculate and write all the details about distance. Because in case of speed, speed is what? Speed is a scalar quantity. And the SI unit. SI unit of distance was meter, for time it is seconds. So this becomes what? Meter per second. And CGS unit becomes what? Centimeter per second. All right. And then 1 kilometer per hour is also given in questions, 1 kilometer per hour. So we have to convert it into meter per second. So instead of converting it every time and solving it, it's better if you remember it's 5 by 18 meter per second. So multiply the quantity with 5 by 18, you will get it. And 5 by 18, I think in earlier classes, you people must have used, even in your 9th and 10th classes, where you 9th class, I think in CBSE it is included, the speed and motion in a straight line is included. So there also you must have you must be using it. So speed is what? Speed is basically distance divided by time. This is the basic formula of speed. And speed is a scalar quantity. So you don't need any direction. Like when we discussed the last question in case of displacement, we had to put in the unit vectors because these are displacement was a vector quantity. Right now speed is scalar quantity, so we'll be just using distance, and distance is scalar. You can calculate the distance in any manner you have calculated, and performing the calculation just divided by the time. So speed, if you see, if you take t is equal to 1 seconds, if you take t is equal to 1 seconds, then speed will be equal to what? Speed will be equal to the distance. So speed can be defined as what? Speed is the distance that is covered in 1 second. If you start a timer at t is equal to 0 and at t is equal to 1, you stop the timer, then whatever length has been covered, you call that as a speed. So speed is ratio of distance and time. Now speed is not of single type. This from here in 11th standard, you have various types of speed and you have to calculate it. Different types of speed are there and you have to perform the calculations of it. So types of speed. Basically, there are two kinds of speed. One is the uniform, other one is non-uniform. In your syllabus, you have non-uniform as average and instantaneous. When we were discussing differentiation, instantaneous and average, we had discussed it in brief, but right now we'll discuss it in full detail. So uniform means what? From the term uniform, you can identify. Uniform means constant speed. I'll write down these things. If we talk about first the uniform speed. So
Equal
uniform
distance.
speed, yes, yes, your voice is cracking. Equal distance, say the definition.
Equal distances in equal intervals of time.
In equal intervals of time. Exactly. Constant speed. So as rightly said by Ayaz, it is basically constant or you can say body covers equal distance in equal interval of time. Means whatever distance it is covering, like let's say this is distance 5 meter has been covered in 2 seconds. Then again 5 meter is getting covered in 2 seconds. Again 5 meter is getting covered in 2 seconds. Again 5 meter is getting covered in 2 seconds. So 5 divided by 2 becomes the speed. So 2.5, 2.5, 2.5 meter per second is kept everywhere. This means speed is constant. You people can also calculate speed will be what? 5 divided by 2 here. It will be 5 divided by 2 for this segment as well. 5 by 2 for this segment. So speed is constant. So that definition is right. Body covers equal interval. Body covers equal distance in equal interval of time. So ratio of distance and time, that will be constant. Then you have the concept of non-uniform speed. So it will obviously be variable speed, means different distances are covered in different time intervals. So non-uniform speed. So we have very good questions on average speed that comes not only for your class 11th half yearly and final exams, for your entrances also. Good questions come from non-uniform speed section. So this becomes important because uniform you can easily calculate distance divided by time. You know how to perform division. From non-uniform speed it becomes important. So non-uniform speed is what? This is variable speed. For example, a body has started at t is equal to 0 seconds. It has again covered 5 meter in 2 seconds. But then it is covering in 2 seconds, it is covering 6 meters. We'll call this as a non-uniform speed. Because here it is 2.5 meter per second. Here it is 3 meter per second. So speed has changed. That means it is non-uniform. Uniformity has vanished. So body covers unequal distance, unequal distances in equal interval of time and vice versa. Means equal distances in unequal interval of time. Time can also vary. It can be 5 meter, but time can be 3 seconds. Time can also vary. Both can be variable and vice versa. Now, average speed and instantaneous speed are there. First, let's focus on average speed, then we'll move on to instantaneous speed. So for calculation in average speed, because average speed is easy. Average speed's formula is easy. Questions can be tricky. Questions can be tricky in both, in instantaneous as well as in average. In both the cases, it can be tricky. Average speed's formula is same. Formula is very basic. Formula says body, whatever is the total distance, just divided by the total time. Total distance means if there are so many distances have been covered, so many paths have been covered. So you have to take the total path that has been covered. And total path that is divided by the total time means 5 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 8 seconds. So average, you have to take the total time. So V average becomes total distance. Total distance means the total distance you have to add it. The way you have been calculating distance divided by the total time. So V average, this is the formula. So first note it down, we'll do questions on it, then only it will get clear. Just note this portion down. Now let's discuss few questions. So average speed is what? Total distance divided by total time. So let's start from basic questions and then we'll raise the level of questions in average speed. So there are few good questions also from average speed where differentiation and no calculus is used. Simple, this formula is utilized, but the questions have a good level. So a body starts from A, this is B point, and stops at C. This distance, this is let's say 10 meters. This distance, this is 20 meters. Time interval in the first from covering from A to B point, this is 10 seconds. And time interval from B to C, this is 5 seconds. See, in this question, total distance becomes what? V average. V average is basically total distance divided by total time. This is total distance divided by, yes, I asked, good. This is divided by total time. So total distance is 20 plus 10, that becomes divided by 10 plus 5. So this becomes what? 30 divided by 50, that is 2 meters per second. All right, so this is a very one of the basic questions. Now, a question that can be at a higher level to this, which is also very easy, but a little trickier than this. I'll give you time to note it down, so don't worry about noting down question. I'll give you time. Let's say the speed is given as 10 meter per second from A to B. Time is given as 3 seconds. Then this is V1. Then speed is given as in the second 20 meter per second. And the time is given as 2 seconds at some point. Now we have to calculate the what is the average. So see, in these kinds of questions where velocity is already mentioned and no distance is given, because we have to calculate the total distance divided by total time. See, whenever you have average speed, remember your aim is to take out the total distance divided by the total time. So total distance will be what? For calculation of total distance. Right now, this is given as 10 meter per second. This is 20 meter per second. Time is 3 seconds. This time is 2 seconds. So you can calculate the distance for each part at least. And if you have the distance, then you can easily calculate the average speed. If this is V1 and T1, so Arnav, can you tell me what will be the distance in this part? Okay, Arnav, yes, answer is right. Yes, Arnav. Ayaz and Arnav, both the answers are right. Arnav, what will be the distance for this? Arnav? Yes, Arnav? Arnav, did you answer?
30 meters.
Yes, 30 meters, right. Speed is equal to distance divided by time. So distance will be equal to what? Speed multiplied by time. That means 10 into 3, this gives 30 meters. Now D2 similarly, this will be 20 into 2, that gives 40 meters. Now total distance will be what? 30 plus 40 divided by total time. Total time is 3 plus 2. So this becomes 70 divided by 5, which is 14 meters per second. All right, so note down these two questions. Now I'm giving you a question that you all will try and send me the answers. Yes, Ayaz. Your answer is right answer. See others. How will we do it? It says a body covers its total journey into 3 equal parts. So I have divided the entire journey into 3 equal parts. Let's name it as A, B, C, and D. So let's take the total distance as 3x. You can take it as x also. So each part will become x by 3, x by 3, x by 3. Or you can take it as 3x so that this each part becomes x. Fine. And it gives us the speed v1, v2, and v3. Fine. Now, for calculation of average speed, we require the total distance. Aram, can you tell me the total distance? What is the total distance?
3 3x.
3x. It is 3x. Since we have taken it, so this becomes 3x. That is right. Total distance is 3x. But we don't know the total time. So at least we can do one thing. We can calculate the time for each part. If this is distance, see, time will be what? T1 will be equal to speed is equal to distance by time. No. So time is equal to distance divided by speed. So T1 becomes x by v1. T2 becomes x by v2. T3 becomes x by v3. Now we have the total time, we have the total distance. V average is what? Total distance divided by total. S is the symbol for distance. And when we put an arrow, that becomes for displacement. Arrow shows the vector quantity. That's why I'm using S. So don't get confused. S, V, with speed and distance. S doesn't mean speed. S means distance. V is used for speed. If I put this symbol, that becomes vector. So that becomes velocity. That we'll discuss later. Velocity, we'll discuss it later. This becomes by total time. Now see, total distance is 3x as rightly answered by Aram. This is 3x. Total time is what? All the times getting added up, that becomes x by v1 plus x by v2 plus x by v3. If you take x common from here, it becomes x into 1 by v1 plus 1 by v2 plus 1 by v3. See, x got cancelled. So that's why you can take it anyway. You can take it as x, total distance as x. So each part becomes x by 3, x by x by x by 3. That's up to you. Since I wanted to avoid fractions, that's why I took it as 3x. Answer will be the same. Now we just have to take the LCM. LCM will be what? We just multiply it. So 3, this becomes LCM will be v1, v2, v3. All these will go up. And since v2, v3 is missing here, it becomes v2, v3 plus. Here v1 and v3 is missing. v1 and v3 are missing. So this becomes v1, v3 plus v2 and v1 are missing. That becomes v1, v2. This is the average speed. If any queries are there, any part you people are having difficulties, ask me. Note down the solution as well. Now, one thing before moving on to instantaneous, you have to understand one term. What is meant by instant and what is meant by interval? So if you understand these basic concepts, then at the end of this lesson, you will be able to achieve more knowledge of physics. Because what happens, these small terms get stuck in our mind. We don't understand them. And at the end, whenever questions become confusing, we are not able to relate it. So it's better if we are just going very slowly right now. Distance, displacement we covered. Right now we did only speed. We didn't even do velocity. So initially we are going at a very slow pace. So it's better if you revise it and come. All right. And slowly at the end, the level of questions will also raise. So for that, for solving it, you people should have a good practice. Now, time interval and time instant, I tell you that at t is equal to 1, at some interval of time, I have seen the watch and the time is 2 p.m. And after 2 hours, after 3 hours, after 4 hours, let's say I have had this time seen, that is 6 p.m. Now, T1 was what? At a particular moment, I saw the time that was 2 p.m. So this means what? This is instant. At this specific time, the time is 2 p.m. So this is the instant. If I am asking you what is the time at this particular instant, we call it as a specific moment of times that we have. So that is instant. This is also instant. This is also instant, 6 p.m. But if I ask you what is the time interval between, what is the time interval? This was instant time. Now what is time interval? That is from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. That becomes the time interval. This is instant time. Time interval is basically from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m.
It's like between two times, between two constants.
Between two instants, the time lag between two instants basically. So this becomes 6 minus 2, that is 4 hours. So I'll say 4 hours has passed and 4 hours is the time interval. Now instant, why time interval we were discussing, because this will be used here. We use average speed for calculation for time interval, but if you have to have a specific velocity, a specific speed, a specific acceleration, any physical quantity at a specific time interval, instant, then we use instantaneous speed for calculation. So let's now, as I had already introduced this is instantaneous speed. So this is speed at a particular instant of time. Speed at a particular instant of time. For example, if I say at t1 distance is x1, I'm saying at t2 distance that is covered is t2. Let me write it. X1 is position of body at t1. X2 is what? X2 is position of body at t2. So average speed becomes what? Whenever we are calculating average speed, it becomes the change in distance or whatever distance has been covered by the total time that we have seen. If the time interval is given, this is valid if the time interval is given, because in the questions you will be given all the things for calculation of distance at a specific time, for calculation of distance for a time interval. For preparation of that, you should know what is meant by time interval and what is meant by time instant. So if you have time interval, you can calculate the change in distance divided by change in time. That gives you average speed for a specific time interval. If you have for instantaneous speed, that gives you, this is instantaneous speed is basically differentiating distance with respect to time. This is for instantaneous This is instantaneous speed for instant time. Means at a specific time in time, like at t is equal to 4 seconds, I'm asking. Let me explain you with the help of an example. For example, if I say equation of position is x is equal to t square. This is the position of equation given. I am asking you to calculate the speed at t is equal to 2 seconds. So velocity will be what? Velocity is basically differentiating time. So Aram, can you tell me x is equal to t square? So what will be differentiation of it? dt square over dt if we differentiate this?
T.
Only t. Power
T 2 minus 1.
t to the power 2 minus 1, that I agree. That becomes t. You are right. But what is the first rule of differentiation? What comes out first?
2 comes out.
2 will come out. The exponent power that is there. Whatever is in the power, that comes out. So this becomes 2. Then t to the power 2 minus 1, that is right. It is 2t. Yes, this is 2t. Now you have velocity. This is what? Not velocity, we are calculating the speed right now. So this is what? Speed is 2t. Now we have the equation for speed. Now we can put t is equal to 2 seconds. 2 multiplied, instead of t, write it as 2. You get the speed as 4 meter per second. This is how differentiation will help you. So before anything, just note it down. First note down this part. Ayas, are these classes benefiting you, whatever was lagging in the last year?
Yes, ma'am.
Because you have to cope up with the 12th as well as you have to cope up with this as well.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
is it not? I hope it's not getting too boring for you.
No, it's not because I missed these things. No, I had
Alright.
missed them in 11th. So
Okay.
everything was online.
All right. 11th becomes the very basic class. If you do not understand things in class 11th, then it hampers even in your, even if you take drop years, then also it keeps on hampering the topics. So it's good that you're doing all the things. See, this is one more question. So speed at t is equal to 1 second. See, equation of position is given. X is equal to 3t square minus 2t plus 1. This is the equation that is given. Now we have to calculate the speed at t is equal to 1 second. So obviously t is equal to 1 second. This is instant or an interval? Yes, class, is it an instant or an interval? T is equal to 1 second.
It's in instant.
Instant, it will be instant. Whenever you have interval, it will be starting from something, ending to something. Like from 0 to 2 seconds, that becomes a time interval. From 4 to 5 seconds, these becomes interval. Even in normal everyday life, we use time intervals. So this is an instant given, means exactly at t is equal to 1 second, you have to tell the speed. So we have to differentiate it obviously to get the speed equation. So let us calculate the equation of speed. 3 is a constant, t square, we did it right now, that was 2t, minus 2 is a constant, t to the power 1 minus 1 becomes 0, so this becomes 1. T to the power 0, any constant to the power or any variable to the power 0 is 1. So we have to, and differentiating constant gives us 0. So final equation of velocity is 60 minus 2. Now we have to calculate the speed at t is equal to 1 second. So speed becomes 6 into 1 minus 2. This also becomes 4 meter per second. Now the second part. Second part asks us time when the body stops. So when the body will stop, what will be the speed? If the body stops, what will be the speed?
0 meter.
Zero. Zero. If the body has stopped, then obviously the speed will also be zero. So it means our speed is zero right now. This is the second part. This was the first part. Yes. So speed is zero because the body stops. So you just have to put in v is equal to 0. Right now in this equation, what was the equation of velocity? Equation of velocity that we calculated, it is 60 minus 2. So from here t is missing, now v is known. So just 60 minus 2 becomes equal to 0. 60 will be equal to 2. T will be equal to 2 divided by 6. That gives 1 by 3 seconds. 1 by 3, yes. It will be 1 by 3. Right? So just note down this question as well. One question I'll give you that you all will do. See, I tell you how to differentiate when root is there. See, whenever you see root, best method is to eliminate root. If you take square on both the side, t is equal to under root x plus 3. Take square on both the side, t square plus x plus 3 whole square under root. So this becomes t square is equal to x plus 3. So x equals to what? T square minus 3. Now you have a normal equation without root and you know how to solve this t square minus 3. So we can now differentiate. We have to find that t is equal to 2 seconds, no? So velocity will be dx over dt. That means 2t. T square becomes 2t and constant will be 0. So velocity is 2t. Time is given as at t equals to 2 seconds. Velocity will be instead of t as instead of the time t, put t's value as 2. So velocity becomes 2 into 2, that is 4 meter per second. Second part says when the body stops, no? So equation of velocity is this. If the body stops means v will be 0. So t becomes 0, time becomes 0. So these are the two answers. Clear? So note it down. Any doubts, ask me. If you've understood, I hope you've understood this question. Aram, did you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Just text me done in the chat box when you have written this part. And what about you, Ayaz? Done?